Canada, Khalistan, India, it's all trending again. Break it down for us. How did Canada become a haven for gangsters?
Well, we've been witnessing a lot of movement of these gangsters who have escaped India and are taking refuge either in Canada or US or even some of the European countries. Arsh Dalla, or also significantly known as Arshdeep Singh, is another such gangster who's been active for the last many years. And he's been involved with a lot of killings, a lot of contract killings, and intimidating a lot of people, particularly in Punjab and elsewhere. He's been significantly going after the Punjabi singers.
Right.
This time around as well, he had sent in these two, contract killers who were on their way in Delhi to kill a Punjabi singer. And this particular singer was attacked in the past as well, but he had escaped.
Right.
And this time also, he turned out to be lucky. This was near the Akshardham flyover last night, where the encounter took place.
Literally.
Heart of Delhi, actually, not very far from the central Delhi, where the Parliament and the Prime Minister's residence is. And this encounter taking place, and the special cell of the Delhi police has arrested two people. They have found a lot of literature, communication devices, and ammunition and cartridges with them. And their interrogation is currently underway at the special cell office in Lodi Road in New Delhi. So clearly points out how the Khalistani and the gangster nexus, the organized crime syndicate, is very much active. And that's what India has been emphasizing for a very long time.
Yes.
And asking Canada and US to act against them. But this has been going to deaf ears.
Multiple incidents over the last few days, Aditya. In fact, just late last week, there was this incident of a firing in one of the Canadian singer's house outside his residence. That's not been confirmed, but I think one of the Indian gangsters has posted something on Facebook claiming that outside Gippy Grewal's house, there was some shooting incident. And then you have this attack on the Indian ambassador while he was attending the Gurpurab functions. And are all of these connected somehow, Aditya?
Absolutely, they're connected, because there are agencies which are operating outside India that are responsible for sponsoring, motivating, and providing all the resources that they need. And I'm not just referring to Pakistan in this particular case. There are others that we
other agencies, other intelligence agencies.
Other intelligence agencies that do this to extend their foreign policy goals when it comes to India. And we've seen this time and again, Sandeep, from Lawrence Bishnoi to Anmol Bishnoi to Arsh Dalla to Goldie Brar. All these, most of them, apart from Lawrence, who is in prison right now, most of them have been operating from abroad. And they have their other gangsters and low-rung leaders who are operating from Punjab, from Rajasthan, from Uttar Pradesh and other places, and are trying to intimidate and threaten people, particularly Punjabi singers, because they require money, as they call in the Bombay language, hafta. And continue to operate in this.
And it's a lucrative industry, Aditya. I mean, we've been tracking this story for a couple of months now. It's the Punjabi music industry is worth something like 1,000 crore, and that's a lot of money. And with live shows, another 500-600 crore. So that's a very big, pie that I think the gangsters are running after. And this actually very similar to what the Bollywood music industry used to be in the 90s. If you remember, there was that very sensational shootout where Gulshan Kumar was shot down by the underworld. And this template seems to be copied by the Punjabi gangsters now. And in fact, we have this interview with Cal Dosanjh, a Canadian policeman. Deepak Badana spoke with him. And he explains what you were just talking about, Aditya, how Canada, this peace-loving, non-violent country, actually became a haven for Indian gangs and how they continue to operate with impunity. Let's watch.
Massive fluctuation of immigration from India shortly after the Golden Temple attack. In the late 80s, the Golden Temple attack happened in 84. Shortly thereafter, you'll notice there was a massive migration of Southeast Asians coming from India in the late 80s and early 90s. And so they were coming to Canada, they were settling here, they were trying to become financially independent and stable. But while they were busy at work, their children were also adjusting to a Western style of life in school. So reconciling and finding that balance between their culture, their values, their traditions versus Western culture. So there was obviously a lot of challenges that came with that. And part of that was having to deal with racism. There was a significant amount of racism back in the day as well. So what ended up happening is the South Asians would band together in little gangs. to protect one another from all the racism was happening. But unfortunately, that gradually escalated from just insulating and protecting one another as a defensive tactic to becoming more of a threat and intimidation and use of violence as a tool to make money selling drugs. And they realized how lucrative it was. So that's where the real start was. And the real dawn of gangsterism here, so to speak, was Bindi Johal and the Dosanjh brothers. And so that cycle was in the early 90s. And there was multiple homicides that came as a result of that. And you could say that was truly the beginning of South Asian gang crime in North America.
Today, in Canada, at least, Canadian Punjabi or South Asian gangsters, they form a significant, they control a significant portion of, say, territories or even the trade. Could you elaborate on the kind of activities they've engaged in?
Everything you could possibly imagine. Drug trafficking, weapons trafficking, extortions, robberies, kidnappings, prostitution, you name it. Like, it is unbelievable, the spectrum of crime that these individuals are involved in. But primarily what we're noticing is the South Asians are involved in the drug trafficking business.
So, see, South Asians have for a long time been termed as a model immigrant community. We're known for having the highest rates of education. A lot of professionals hail from the community. And this is across the globe. What is the effect of, on the community with regard to the rise of this phenomena? How has the community responded?
I'll be very honest with you. I'm very disappointed. I really am. The South Asian community as a whole, they don't work together. I'll say that right out, because as the South Asian community is all about sweeping it underneath the rug, pretending it doesn't exist. It's blind denial. It's the ostrich with the head in the sand approach. And secondly, unlike India, where we grew up in villages, and it goes back to that old saying, it takes a village to raise a child, where we all helped out. Here, everybody minds their own business. So if some kid is involved in drugs or gangs, everybody takes the attitude, it's not our problem, right? It's that families, that parents, their responsibility, their problem, they can deal with it. And that's the most disappointing aspect of all this, is that my work in the community has primarily been centered on that saying that it takes a village to raise a child, where I firmly believe in all of us working together in collaboration and in partnership to keep kids on the right track. Just because it's somebody else's child doesn't mean it's not our responsibility as a whole, as a community. And I believe that's where the South Asian community needs to stand together in order to protect our kids from going into that lifestyle.
What are the connections of how do you see an impact? So from my perspective, today I am sitting in Patiala in Punjab, and what is fascinating to me is that Punjabis in India are in any way, they're stereotyped as having a globalist perspective. People in the Punjab in India, they don't just think of Punjab, they'll think of, going abroad, they'll think of having businesses across the globe. How have you seen connections? Do you see any connections between, say, the Canadian Punjabi underworld in Canada and the heartland in Indian Punjab? Have you seen any connections over the years?
Oh, of course. Of course. Multiple connections. What you have to understand that not many, but some of those that choose to immigrate to Canada have a significant amount of criminal history and affiliation back in India. They're involved in that lifestyle over there, where they're involved in drug trafficking, they're involved in that lifestyle. They see it as easy money. And when they get their immigration to Canada, because their records were clean, and they end up moving to Canada, Canada simply becomes a safe haven for them, where then they end up conducting their drug business here as well. In terms of the nexus between India and Canada, I'll give you a perfect example. There was kids that were born here. When I say kids, they were in their early 20s. They were gangsters, South Asian. So in Canada, based on our rules, you cannot ship over bulk precursors for drugs unless you're a pharmaceutical company. So one of the precursors used for methamphetamines, which is meth, a major drug, that is required, can be bought in India in bulk. And so what these guys did is that they went to Mumbai, they purchased a huge amount of the precursor in bulk, and then they shipped it over here. So in other words, long as it gets shipped from a country that permits it, it's not a problem. So you can't just buy it here, but you can ship it from another country here. So these gangsters were involved in shipping large-scale precursors, thousands of kilograms, to Canada, which was subsequently used by Asian organized crime for their meth labs, to create meth and to sell that and distribute that on the streets. Those guys were busted in Mumbai when the Mumbai police worked together in conjunction with Canadian authorities, and now those guys are now sitting in jail in Mumbai.
News9 Plus. Download now.